Uh, Welcome back to our second to last week, I think, before studies. This last week will be second, the next week will be just last week before our exam till that, following week. All right, so today we are going to discuss some interesting topics. One of the topic is the one that is from our outline. But the good news is that most of the things from the outline we have already covered. So we might be getting some extra things today, right from today, and into the next week. Next week also we'll be having. So next week we'll be having our exam discussion, the final exam, how it's going to be. And today, what we are going to do. So today's agenda is, first of all, we'll talk about link, which is again in our outline, and so we have to discuss that one. We'll see what is this link and how do we use that. And then we will just talk about some of the SQL Server basics, if you remember, which is not directly the part of our outline, but I'll be giving you some of the basics of that. Not only that, but then how to connect our C# Forms application with them. So a little bit basic integration with our, because you might have seen that professionally most of the people, they would prefer SQL Server databases rather than going for any other database, be it Access or something. Access is generally the last option that people use. So, but again, and I think you would be just studying maybe somewhere in next coming semesters about this one. But anyhow, that's something that we'll see, that how we can connect our applications, and we can have a little database driven application that would be. Then we have a video that I'll share with you. This is my own recorded lecture. But then we have in class 5 today, which will be the last evaluation before exam. Assignment 3 is already there. You will be working on that one. So this is in class 5, that would be today. And that would be, as I said, alongside assignment 3, this would be the last evaluation before our exam. So we'll just talk about those things. So this is our agenda about that. First of all, link. What is this link? LINQ. It stands for Language Integrated Query. So first of all, if you see that, so LINQ are the prominent one, language integrated, but of course the N has been taken from there. So integrated query. So what's that language integrated query? Is a Microsoft query language that seamlessly facilitates data access, that facilitates data access. Number one, the point about this is. So what do we mean by data access? Remember, we started talking about the files few weeks back. So files was as I told you, is the effort to have permanent persistent data in your programs. You can access that data. You can just later on work on that. You can edit that. In the same way, there are lots of course, options that we can use to store data and to retrieve them. So some of them being from in-memory objects. I don't know if you guys have worked on maybe, the local storage of browser. Have you guys worked on local storage in JavaScript or web? Mm-hmm. If you have not done so, you should definitely try to do that. Anyone has idea local storage in browser memory? Has anyone worked a little on that, or any idea?
I have heard about cookies.
No, I'm not talking about cookies.
Oh, okay.
Keep aside cookies. I'm not talking about cookies. I'm not talking about sessions. I'm talking about local storage.
No.
Again, let me give you a very quick, because it's something that would really relate your concepts from here to that point as well. Browser has a memory inside that one. And in those web applications, you might be making in JavaScript a lot of applications where you enter something in a form and you click, submit it. You generally see that on the other form as well, made a receipt of something, of online purchase or something. You would have done those kind of things in Java. But the irony is, when you just click on refresh of your web browser, everything goes away. Is that the case? In JavaScript, while you are working, Is there a way that you are saving that somewhere that, on your website, if you refresh that, still the data is there? Have you ever experienced that whenever you refresh your web page, everything is gone? And why it is gone? Of course, it's just like the C programs. If you don't have filing, if you don't have databases, if you have nothing, you will never be able to retrieve the data. There will be a data. You have the form, you enter something, you process something, and then everything goes off when you just close the form, right? And that really happens over there. But there is a very important API that's called local storage for browser. And this local storage has been provided by, it has been provided by the HTML5. When I say HTML5, it's just like an umbrella. It's not a language. HTML5 is a standard rather, if you know about it. So that umbrella has one of the introduced, like one of the things called local storage. So browser has this capacity to store things locally into its memory, and that's local storage. So as he was saying, it's not cookies. Cookies are different. It's not sessions. Sessions are different. It's the local storage. And browser does what? It keeps your data with it. For example, you fill in a form and you say, okay, submit that form. That data is visible on the other page. But alongside that data should be gone in the browser's memory and saved there. So that when user, for example, closes the other page, or maybe closes this page, and then again opens this form, or again opens some page, so that data is there in the memory. So you should definitely have a look at that one, and maybe if I get a chance, I'll just give you some sample code that you can just use to store your data. Again, it won't be permanent in that original sense, but of course it will be in your browser. It will be saved, and you can always access them. For example, you are making a to-do list, and you add an item, and you just refresh your page, and you get nothing because the item is gone. But if you have set up the local storage properly, you add an item, you add that item to the list as well as to the local storage. So when after some time you just refresh that, you will find all the elements are still there. You know what I mean? So anyhow, that's how it goes. So here in language integrated query, it facilitates the data access from what? From in-memory objects. When we say in-memory objects, we are still talking about the same objects that we were talking about last week as well. We'll have some data with some examples. That data I want to access. So if I want to access that, link will facilitate me. How? We'll see that. Databases, of course, the ultimate, the ultimate thing to store data, the ultimate solution for storing of data, databases. Then XML documents. I hope you guys know XML. XML was a standard to transfer or to have data on our web pages, and you still see that in some of the games. Do you see that XML files in the games that stores sometimes the state, that stores sometimes some value information into that one, and those are called XML documents. Has anyone experienced that? XML documents where you find the funny tag, not the funny, they are the tags with the names, like for example, stage 1, level 1, and power, etc. The tags, you'll find those tags, which are not there in HTML. So XML, it was introduced as a language alongside HTML, but then it became a standard to store data and to retrieve data and to transfer data online. But this story stops here, but this is like the web story does not stop here. It goes more forward. It goes to JSON now. Do you know JSON? Yeah, what's JSON then? It's an interest because it's all related to the data and everything. JSON.
Essentially, you can just define data values.
Values?
Formats that you create.
Okay, right. The format of the values that you create. Anyone else? JSON?
JavaScript object notation.
It's the acronym JavaScript Object Notation. JSON. Object Notation. What's that? Do you have any idea? Maybe syntax of it, or maybe the feature of it. Why? How do we use it?
Oh yeah, basically it has a key value pair for each and every object which it stores.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say if I want to save a name of someone, I'll give the key as full name and the name of it as a string.
Good.
Supported data types are string, boolean, numbers.
Okay, I want you to stop here. He's right. He says that it's a key value mapping pair. This is a data in the form of key value mapping. But that's the same in the JavaScript normal objects. These objects, memory objects that we are talking about. Curly bracket, name, colon, something, the name. So that also, JSON, let me just tell you, or you might know that when you just write that. JSON has a little different syntax than the normal objects. And that syntax is that the keys also are surrounded by double quotations. And that's a fair bit of difference. Remember, whenever you will receive a JSON data, you will always have the keys also surrounded by the double quotations. Does that make sense? Actually, that data is in. Now, if we are discussing that, I can give you a very interesting thing over here. You might be interested in, or maybe you will be working on that. I don't know, but I would like to show you something. Has anyone seen this or maybe likes of this? It's a very nice API, or it's a place which allows us to check our front end against a real API. Now here comes the question, what is API? Here comes the question, what is get, post, put and delete? Do you guys know about that? Should, because web, you are in the second course of web. Get, put, post, all those API requests that we make. We make a get request, we make a post request, we make a put request, we make a delete request. I don't know if you don't know, but again, I'm giving you a very nice source here. This RackRaz is one of the APIs. There are lots of APIs there. So it's one of the API that provides us a way to test our front end. If you are using a front end technology and you have created a very nice front end, you want to check it with the data. There are multiple ways. There are some paid APIs that you need to purchase. If you want some data from Twitter, you need to purchase the API. If you want to, and the purchase is done, sometimes on click basis, on request basis. You can make 10 requests per day. After 10, you will be charged so and so. After 20, you will be charged so and so. Something like that. But to test your front end, if you want to have a real environment which provides you see what it provides? Fake data. First of all, it provides fake data. Number 2, it provides real responses. It's a fake data, but it will give you real responses as many times as you want. Always on, 24/7 free access in your development phases, so you can go nuts. You can just use that. Now, what I want to discuss over here or tell you, this APIs, these give some endpoints. These are called endpoints. And now the thing that I was saying, you can see it already here. The data comes like this. You see, page also has the quotations around it. Numbers do not have. Numbers are excluded. But you see, per page also there's something called a data. It's an array of objects. And those objects also are surrounded by, again, the fields are also surrounded by what? The quotation. This is a real API that you can always test in your any front end application, maybe it a web or be it any type of front end application. Now here, if I ask you a question, I don't know. I'll be surprised to know if you don't know. Have you discussed promises and async await functions or fetch API there? In the web, I'm talking about. In the web, I'm talking about JavaScript. These are all JavaScript things, by the way. But anyhow, if you don't know, don't worry. But I would really request that. So again, what it does is, interestingly, this is the thing that it does. This is almost the same thing that it was just providing the data. So if you make a request to this URL, this not URL, I would call it endpoint. This is endpoint. If you make a request to rackraz.in/API/users, it will provide us with this dummy data. And it's quite an interesting dummy data. Look at here. The point of interest for us is only this data field. If you see the data field, the last one in the first line, and its data field is an array that is ending somewhere here. And if you look at that, it has how many records? 6 records, starting from 1 till 6 ID. So what I was trying to say, this is the JSON format data that, how do I know that this is JSON? First of all, I can see that all fields are surrounded by the double quotations, which should not be the case for a normal JavaScript object. It's called JavaScript object notation, but it's different, and normal JavaScript objects are different. They do not have any quotations around that, like field. So if ID will be there, ID will be without the quotations, ID:1. You would be using this type of data at least. The object data that you are storing over there. Anyhow, so there are lots of free APIs that you can play with if you are going that way, if you are making something which requires you to just play with that data. There are the fields over here. Let me tell you another very interesting one. This is the one, and there is another Chuck Norris jokes up here. This is very interesting if you have seen that. This is very, and you know, they have given an endpoints like this, that if you want to get a category of the jokes, you can just go to there. So, you know, you would really enjoy that, you know, when you just, you know, access them. And there you can access a random joke from somewhere and lots of. So these are all the free available resources that I would highly recommend you guys to just, you know, keep an eye on that. And these will be the real world data, real world information. Anyhow, so we'll be talking about that. LINQ is basically a language that facilitates data access from all these resources and up to SOAN, maybe JSON or anything. By means of a set of extensions, there are lots of extensions with LINQ. LINQ efficiently integrates queries in C# and Visual Basic. This this tutorial will provide a deep understanding of LINQ accompanied by abundant examples. So we'll see a lot of examples. We'll see a lot of things. So let's move forward. Okay, so world developers have consistently faced challenges when it comes to querying data due to absence of a standardized approach, often requiring mastery of multiple technologies such as SQL, web service, XQuery, and more. Now, interestingly, the technologies that have been named here, for example, SQL, web services, XQuery, and up to SOAN. So, if someone wants to have data or store data in want to play with one of the area of this one, they'll have to learn all the nitty-gritty details of that particular technology. For example, if you want to work with SQL, of course, you need to learn all the SQL basics, how you interact with the SQL, how you would write the queries in SQL and things like that. There'll be lots of things. But so generally, this is something which is required by everyone. Now, however, with the introduction of LINQ, Language Integrated Query in Visual Studio 2008, designed by this person, developers can now write queries without needing expertise in specific query languages like SQL or XML. LINQ empowers developers to write queries for various data types with ease and flexibility. You keep on hearing this word, query. And again, it's the best part. Do you remember that we discussed about what is a query? What's a query? Like, you know, if you can just define it one way, one word or one line, maybe one liner. What's a query? Anyone remember that? Have we discussed that? The word query. Why? Where this word query has come from? Rest. You know, just leave everything else. The query in our real world. What's a query?
Asking a question.
Asking a question. That's right. So we say that. Do you have any queries? Do you have any questions? So queries means a question. That's wonderful. In the world of programming, in the world of databases, query has a specific definition. You're right. It's asking questions. And you know, you can put that in the context. Asking questions to the database. So generally speaking, the query word is used in our whole technical world as a statement to interact with database. The simplest of the definition. A statement, because we cannot say only getting information from database. Because a statement might be there to update information in database. A statement might be there to delete information from the database. A statement, so there can be multiple purposes. The CRUD operations, the create, read, update, delete operations. All of those operations can be done. So query in this context is basically, so over here, what they say that LINQ empowers developers to write queries for various data types with ease and flexibility. Without going or without knowing the original, the syntax or the details of a particular implementation, LINQ will facilitate us that we write generic queries and they would be interacting with the data. They'll be bringing out the data for us. And there would be queries. Again, when the word query comes, the first thing that comes in people's mind is SQL, structured query language. When you are learning, usually when we are learning Microsoft Access, I don't know if you guys have seen, when you are learning Access, Microsoft Access, which you would be right now maybe. So do you go and look at the queries that are written behind when you do some operation? I think never you would want to go back and by the way, whenever you do any operation in Access, there is a query generated behind that. Do you guys know that? And you can find those queries. Literally, those are the queries that are written. When you say in Access, you delete a line of the a line of the table. When you insert some data into the table, there is a query that is generated behind. But you might have never seen those queries, because of any reason. In Access, we don't go there because Access is much more like, what you see is what you get type of an environment. Anyhow, so but here, what we'll say, various data types and various data types can be easily queried without having to know about the SQL structure, without having to know about the XML structure, and so on and so forth, right? And we'll see its examples from the beginning. You'll see that some of them. Okay, so this is one example that we'll just use that one as well. So it's a program that has been taken. So there are the string of words, some words being defined over here. Get only short words. So if you see here, our short words is equal to from word in words where word dot length is less than or equal to 5, select word. Now interestingly, it's a whole SQL query, but it's written in a very generic different form. What it says, short words is equal to from word in words where word dot length is less than 5, select the word. Now again, in a very high level specification, we are trying to access those words which have the length equal to or greater than 5. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So most of these words, this link will not come into that one. Otherwise, most of them are 5 or above. So in this query, we want to have these short words that we are selecting those words that are typically only how much of the length, like 5 the length. So this is one. Now print each word out for each word in short words. So take out, because it would be a string, it would also an array coming up. So just go and print out first word and you just keep on going that. Now what's that? Actually what has happened, that some condition being applied, and condition also being applied in a language that of course is not truly the SQL query, but it's just giving me a facility to I can just query these collection of strings and I can take out my point, like my point of interest. All those strings starting with S, all those strings, just like regular expressions that we have done. So this is one of the way, and we'll, as I said, we'll see some of the examples in that one. Here comes the syntax that we'll just see. The two types of syntaxes are there of link, and the following ones. First of them is lambda, and this should be lambda, right? So lambda, you remember lambda functions we have talked about a lot. So lambda syntax is, if you see, words dot where and now function. The function is again take one word at a time, check its length. If it is greater than 10, do what? You just, so here this will just return the long words, and then if you see here words dot where, we are applying a typically, so here a typical function that we generally use. So this is the lambda method, and if you come over here, query, so this is for Visual Basic and this is for C#, right? So both of them, this is for Visual Basic and this is for, so Visual Basic uses this dim word, DIM. Okay, query. So this is comprehension syntax. So if you see our long words is equal to from W in words where W dot length, the one that we have used before. So it will just go there and it will take out the words which have the length above 10 from that one. And again, this is for the Visual Basic using the dim keyword, and it would just go there. So both of the syntax are here. Now this comes to an interesting part. The types of link are mentioned below in brief. So these are few links. Link to objects, we'll see example of this one. Link to XML, Xlink, right? We might not be looking into that one. Link to dataset, link to SQL, that we will be looking some of them from out of these, because those which we are right now so we know the objects, we'll try to access the objects. We'll run some link queries with the lambda functions, different lambda functions, try to find them out, and we'll just look at them. So these are all the data sets that we can work on. Let's see one more slide and then we'll just move to its example. So architecture in .NET. The architecture of Link comprises 3 layers. The top layer incorporates language extensions, while the bottom layer consists of the data sources, commonly represented by objects implementing the generic interface IEnumerable. You remember we have talked about IEnumerable? Here we'll make use of it. So using IEnumerable with any of the type, generic type, or iQueryable, this is another interface that we can use. We'll be using IEnumerable mode. The visual representation of this architecture is here. So this is interesting. So if you see here, So you know that C# has these languages, C#, VB, VB, ASP.NET, and all those others. So .NET Language Integrated Query. So this is the link part which has the so again you will see that how it basically connects all of them together. So this is the language. So they all have their own, you know, so to speak, methods or the ways to access things. And then if you see here that these are the link enabled data resources. So if you see here, link to objects, link to data sets, SQL, entities, XML, these are all specifically those link features that would connect with the data objects. So the language, their implementation of link, their library or their integrated query, and then the languages or the elements that we want to access, and then here come the objects. So objects, maybe there are relational database, maybe there are XML or data. All these are the data. So these languages, through their own interface and with their link enabled technologies to typical language, they will be interacting with them, rather accessing the objects, sometimes accessing all of them. So now, having said that, let's see an example with INumerable first of all, and run some queries here, like the link queries, and then we will be just moving towards to the next. Okay, so let's start our project for today.
Other way around.
Today is August 1. School is not coming, August. All right, so let's start as we do usually. Let's have a look.
Yeah, I'm gonna have the front row of that. Screen TV. Yeah. Computer on deck, bro. Friday.
Yeah.
I need to upgrade that. It's ridiculous, man. We finished it? No, what's your trip now? When the last episode?
All right, so here we have, what we have done is that we have just defined the data source. It's a very, simple integer array that has multiple values starting from 20 to 60 with a difference of 10. So it's just a one-dimensional simple array. So now here comes I enumerable, and we have initiated with the integer, and we'll see a short example of objects as well. Square query, and now here comes the query, and that's the best part. Again, writing down a query. So again, here this query, if you can see that. So here it's in this form. So from score in scores. So scores is the value, the source from where you have to just go and grab. So you are grabbing one value at a time in a score. It's more like this sort of lambda function that we will be implementing as well. So from scores, take out one score at a time, where that score has to be greater than 30. So again, putting up a condition and just shifting out or taking out some of the important relevant data that might be in the query. So this is the most basic form of query, where just one condition is given in the where. So those who are familiar with the queries in SQL, so they know that this query would have gone something like this: select score from the table where. So where is exactly over there. But again, do you see, if you see over here that it is just it's just accessing those results on the basis of that one. And as we said, that it's not a proper implementation of any SQL implementation or anything. Rather, it's doing what? It's a normal link query that is just running. So whenever we have just square query, we just collect them, and after collecting them, we are just printing them out and taking one value at a time. So this I will catch one value from this enumerated values, and it will just take out one value at a time and will store for each. So this is the basic introduction, and with that one. Now let's try to enhance it with objects data. How we will just go with that one. So let's move to our next part.
Should partition the drive on it. So we got Windows on it. Or you can fucking fuse it. It's not even no like little, but very minor. Boston. What the fuck? No, we need
Right. So. no, I don't know. Can you send me this? Yeah, I know it, but Prashant have discussed that and little practice.
First part, right?
Here comes something that we have never used before, var. So the languages are starting to get into blurred into each other. This var was specific with JavaScript to begin with, that it has var, let, and those other const keywords. But this var is now in C# as well. So C# is also going a lot more friendly in one way or other. But again, we'll see that what's the difference between that one over here, over there, and so what we have done, we have got a string collection, string names over here, and we are making a list of var type, variable type. In what situations we use this var keyword in general, by the way?
JavaScript.
In JavaScript, why? Like JavaScript, in JavaScript you might say that it's a syntax of JavaScript that you use a var, and it's no more a rather a standard over there as well, because after that let and const,
Yep.
so people would prefer let and const because they are ES56 standard. But anyhow, var is used in those situations maybe where you don't know what will be the type of the data that would be coming up.
Yep.
So var specifically is over there because JavaScript inherently it has that feature that it does not ask you to define the type of data while you are defining that. So it has an inherent feature, and there it was. In C#, remember in C# when we use this var, actually we are not confirmed about what type of data is basically coming up over there. So if you see here what we are doing, we are saying var list is equal to from n in names select n. So again the same query or same type of query that we have tried to return over here, that from the names, like take out everything. Here there is no where condition, by the way, right? So it just does what? It takes out those values and stores that in a sort of a list. So if you see here that in this list, so whatever values are collected, what we say that for each string, so now if you see here that we are having this string as s in the list. So here we are defining that the type, the data that would be coming in the var or the list is basically take out that in a string, each value. Take that out and then do what? Just append that in a string builder. We discussed string builder last time. What was the purpose of string builder? Do you remember? String builder. Last week we discussed, was it last week?
No.
String builder. Does anyone remember what was a string builder? Those who were present here. Yeah, not you. You will always reply that. I need someone else to just speak up today. String builder, does anyone remember string builder? We discussed that is strings and string builders. This is the difference. Why in the world string builder, not strings in a usual sense? Do you remember? Yeah. Sorry? What does that mean?
You can change it.
You can change. It's mutable. Remember that you can change the value, and you do not leave behind the trail of trail of values. You remember it's mutable, like it can be changed, and we discussed that string cannot be changed. So again, in that way, it's basically over here. So what it is doing, it's in the form of here. What it is doing, that it's the strings, and we are just collecting that in a variable type of data. We are just not enumerating it, or rather we are just accepting that in a normal type of data. So now I would like you to maybe try to introduce some of the conditions over here. Maybe those names that are starting, like let's try to put some of the conditions, some of the where clauses over here. So maybe let's start with those names which start with A or B, for example. So we have only one name, right, or two names here that start with a capital B, or maybe you can say those names which are ending at N, for example. Still, these two names will just come up. Can you just apply some of the string, try to have those string functions over here, and let's see what behaviors come out. So try to have this query that we are executing over here, it sifting out the data, in some particular fashion, like, trying to find out some typical pattern in the string, trying to find out some typical values in the string, and just giving us those values which are specifically over there. Did you apply any conditions? So there are lots of string functions. We have discussed a lot of them.
I mean, I don't have any when it's starting with B, so I use J. Experiment.
Yeah. You have one name only?
No, two.
Oh, two. Okay. Always concatenate that with the backslash n. A new line that would. Anyone else? So apply some condition over here in the query, and try to find out different types of patterns. Maybe name ending at some particular string, name starting with some particular string, name having some particular substring. That has M and A together, or A and M together in the way. For example, we have two names. We have A N together in Brendan and Samantha. So some pattern inside that has multiple values coming up. Maybe A N together coming anywhere in the string.
J.
Those names. You remember that we have talked about that regular expressions in that syntax. You can write a regular expression that anything can be before that, anything can be after that. But if there is an A N in between, just take out that one. Have you tried that regular expression one? For example, they will have any pattern in between. For example, because I can see here A N in two names, so maybe in anywhere in the name they have A N. Can you try that? Or using the same name. You can use any name by you.
Do I have?
you buy that? Did you apply any conditions on that? Let's try that out, because in that query we have to change the query line number 34 and come up with a unique list which has maybe certain feature being implemented. So somebody come up with that? With the AN pattern?
Kind of.
I'd like to see that, because it's something that is in assignments as well, that might be in exam as well, because you have to everywhere do the string pattern matching. You would find that you would have seen them assignment as well.
Got the AM one.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Dr. Thames. AM.
Yes, okay.
So
Oh, that's
just
one.
making sure.
But it's a contains function. How about the regular expression?
Okay.
Just try with the regular expression.
Okay.
That's
Apparently this is the pattern.
yeah. When did we try that? We're trying to do. Oh, sure. Are you asking the previous one? Or this one? This is all. Okay. This previous one, you see? You mean the previous example? Yeah, okay. The first one. Try that with digits.
I'm trying with something else. I'm trying to find if there are two repeating characters. So let's say in Timmy we have two M's. In William we have two L's. So like that.
Okay, two letters and they're in successive
Yeah.
positions. Okay. So you're writing regex for that or? Yeah.
So we use JavaScript one for. I thought match was a keyword in C#.
Contains.
Oh, it's contained.
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah, you're right. We did go up to love JavaScript more and more.
I'm definitely doing it more.
JavaScript?
Yeah.
It's just the way you declare objects. It's just so.
Way more intuitive and a lot more simple.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, this is very rigid.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's true. Like, if you know what you're doing, you're good.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
Or you just use specifically to character.
Huh. I guess you could do is matches the thumb contains too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, replace.
Maybe.
Did you come up with something?
Did you get it?
Normal string functions contain start with end. Lots of this string. They do not like they accept both of them. But they will accept normal string as well. Yeah, anything. With you? Starts with contains. So maybe try that. Any one of them. Seven. I've not seen anything from you.
I'm still building mine.
Sorry, right?
Yeah, I'm still building mine.
Okay, let's do that. So it's not only you should try the regular expressions, maybe as I said, there are normal string functions that you use, like sort of starts, ends, contains, and character at. Because all these functions, they have multiple syntax, like they accept normal strings as well, Sometimes if you want to embed like the regular expression as well, with the regular expression also they work, but usually they work with that as well.
So, a funny thing,
Yeah.
in Regex 101 it doesn't capture it,
Mhm.
but in this it does. So I don't know what's going on. Yeah.
What is the regex one? Okay, this is the regex.
There's a Regex. It's using the back reference.
Are you sure you're using the right syntax for regular expression?
Oh yeah, regex.isMatch.
Yeah, here in the
The double slash?
You're just escaping that slash.
No, I mean we need that extra slash to preserve this. I think
Again,
Yeah.
escaping that.
escaping the slash so that it can register this one along with the slash. Yeah. Or maybe what I could do is add. Yep. Now that should work as well. Oh yeah. So I guess in here. Oh yeah. Now it works. So that was because I was not using the what's this called again? I forgot.
Oh yeah, this is
The something.
verbatim.
Oh yeah, verbatim.
This is verbatim. The verbatim.
I always remember this as the raw string because I think in Python we use R instead of this at, right? Yeah.
So now it's working. Very
Yeah.
good. Right. So I told you regular expression if you fit in correctly, it will always work.
Yeah.
Did you guys try that?
Okay, please tell me this one.
I got extension on this.
I'm gonna ask him until Sunday because I haven't had any time off since Thursday.
Yeah, same here. Work on Thursday and Saturday. So
We can't come up with a pattern? Well, I just need a pattern. Yeah, no, it says like the trying to do like equals isn't gonna be the right one.
Oh, is that it?
I know that. Well, this doesn't. It only picks A and N, so I gotta pop up the pattern.
Okay, so right here,
extend deadline for assignment.
Oh, is it four?
finding this.
No, it's on third,
So
but I
once
don't
this
think we will
passes
be able
here,
to complete that.
He's gonna read
I see that.
Brandon, right? And he's gonna try to replace EN. If he replaces it, boom. Next one. No? Alright, go.
Can you pause the recording for a second?
So
We are not discussing anything new for the
Yeah.
break.